Holly Cairns, Leader of the Social Democrats.
Thanks, Ceann Comhairle. Taoiseach, it's actually unbearable sitting here listening to you trying to defend the indefensible. Your decision to lift the ban on evictions in the middle of a housing emergency. You've now condemned potentially thousands of individuals and families to homelessness. And there's nowhere for them to go when they leave their homes. There's no affordable private rental accommodation anywhere in the country. Emergency accommodation is full, hotels are full, B&Bs are full. There is no uncertainty about the consequences of lifting this ban. It will open the floodgates to a tsunami of homelessness. The impact of this on individuals and families will be catastrophic, particularly for children. Taoiseach, you've said that you want to make Ireland the best country in the world to be a child. You made that commitment when you became Taoiseach barely 2 months ago. What do you say today to those children who will become homeless because of your decision? We know children who are experiencing homelessness are more likely to be bullied. We know children who are experiencing homelessness are twice as likely to be hospitalised as their peers who have a home. We all know there's lots of research that confirms the serious harm that is being done to the health and to the well-being of children as a direct result of homelessness. This is serious harm that is being inflicted on them by the state because of your government's failure to address the housing disaster. So I want everybody in this chamber, particularly on the government benches, to be very clear-eyed today about the implications of your decision for the health and for the well-being of children. It will cause huge damage, and that damage is avoidable. It doesn't have to ruin these children's lives. Taoiseach, once these children enter homelessness, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get out. You were warned as recently as January by Dublin City Council that the number of homeless families in Dublin finding homes in the private rental sector has fallen to its lowest level in 5 years. What does this mean? It means there are now nearly 500 families who have been trapped in emergency accommodation for more than a year. It means there are more than 200 families who have endured more than 2 years in emergency accommodation. Housing is a human right because it means more than just a roof over our heads. Our homes provide us and our families with comfort, with dignity, privacy and security. This is why one of the most basic requirements in a functioning society is the provision of a secure and affordable home. It's supposedly the biggest priority of your government, and yet it is its biggest failure. Taoiseach, I have one question. Will you reverse this appalling decision?
As I explained earlier, we made this decision because we believe it is the right one in the public interest, and that's the only reason why we would make a decision of this nature. We weighed up the pros and cons, listened to the arguments, and we decided on balance that this was the right decision to make, and it was for the 3 reasons that I outlined. It hasn't been effective in reducing the number of people in emergency accommodation. That's increased every month during which the eviction ban has been in place. Secondly, it was beginning to create new forms of homelessness, people not being able to move back into their own homes, coming home from abroad, people not being able to put their own children, you mentioned children, into an apartment that they bought for that purpose, for example, when they become old enough to go to college. And crucially, we formed the view and formed the opinion that by extending this, the chances of getting new supply into the market, getting new landlords to rent out properties and apartments would have been very, very low. And there'll always be a turnover of people entering and leaving the rental market. But if we don't have new landlords coming in, we're never going to be able to get rents down, and we're never going to have availability. And it's our view and our assessment that if we're going to keep landlords in, and more importantly, if we're going to get new landlords to come in, the only way to improve availability, the only way to get rents down is to get new landlords into the market. And by extending this moratorium, we would make the situation worse, less availability, longer queues for people trying to get an apartment, higher rents. And we see the differential now between existing tenancies where rents are going up by about 3.5% a year and new tenancies where they're going up by 14-15% a year because there's a lack of new supply. and anything we do to discourage new supply is going to make things worse for renters, and that's the basis behind our decision. And Deputy, you spoke passionately about how this impacts on children, and I believe you're sincere in that. But if so, why is it the case that your party has consistently voted against government solutions when it comes to affordable housing? You voted against the Affordable Housing Act, which brought in the first home scheme for loads of young people who are buying now for the first time, brought in 50,000 new social houses in the next quarter, and you also voted against the LDA, which is doing exactly what you advocate we should do, which is building affordable housing on state lands. Why would you vote against those measures? Why would you complain about a problem and then consistently oppose the solutions?
Cairns.
It's quite telling that you're reduced to trying to blame the opposition consistently for a housing disaster that has exploded during your 13 years in office. Is that really the best you can do? I know that I'm new to this, but I think being a leader is about taking responsibility for the things that have happened on your watch. You said there that you weighed up the pros and cons and that on balance you've decided to take this decision. And I think we've heard a lot about the knowns and the unknowns in recent weeks. This was largely theorising from you and your ministers about what might happen if the eviction ban was extended, about the potential consequences of the continuation of it and what that might be. But there is no need to speculate in any way whatsoever about what definitely will happen if you remove it, and that is forcing thousands of people into homelessness. So the unintended potential consequences, when you were weighing up the pros and cons, it's very confusing for people that the definite intended consequences are clear for everybody to see. Taoiseach, I'll just ask you again, will you please reverse this ridiculous decision?
Thanks, Deputy. The decisions that we made today weren't just a decision to allow the moratorium to lapse. We made a decision to buy up 1,500 homes where the landlord is selling up and the tenant is an affordable housing or is a social housing tenant. That will prevent hundreds, if not thousands, of families going into homelessness. We decided to increase the number of social homes we'll provide this year to in and around 12,000. Last year we built about 8,000 new social homes, probably the highest since 1975. We're going to do more again this year, and we've also taken other measures too, Deputy. And I answered your question in the first part. We've made this decision, and we believe it is the right one in the public interest. We know it's controversial. We know it's going to be difficult to defend, but it is nonetheless, in our honest view, the right decision and the one in the public interest. And Deputy, once again, you mentioned about being a leader, and congratulations again on your recent election. Being a leader means standing over your decisions. I will stand over this decision. But you can't go around saying that you want to help people to become homeowners when you oppose the Help to Buy scheme, which has helped 30,000 young people become owners, when you've opposed the Affordable Housing Act, which creates first home. You have to stand over the decisions your party makes. And tens of thousands of young people in this country have bought homes in the past 2 years, and they wouldn't have if we had a Social Democrat housing minister.